This is the #1 way to pay your credit card so your credit score increases every single month consistently. Let's be honest. Nobody taught us about credit, not in school, not in college, not our parents. So the most confusing thing out there right now is, when should I pay my credit card so I can squeeze out more points out of my credit score and continue to watch it grow? And there's so much misinformation out there about this. And let's be honest, this affects everyone because our parents and schools didn't teach us this. So today we're gonna break it down and really give you the sauce on how to continuously raise your credit score using your credit cards properly and paying them properly every single month. Because it's super confusing. It's like, okay, should I pay by the due date or the statement date or before the report date? I mean, which one is it? I honestly feel like they made all these dates to really confuse consumers so everyone pays interest. I mean, the banks make money from interest, right? So in today's video, I'm gonna break down every single date and what their importance is to really teach you how to pay your credit card properly so you can consistently raise that credit score every single month, as I do every single month. Because that's what everybody gets wrong. Credit is the ability to repay consistently. We need to use that word more often, consistently. Now we're gonna use 3 different statements. One from Discover Bank, one from Capital One, and one from Chase Bank, so you can see the differences and we can talk about all of them. But it's very important for me to show you the similarities in all 3 of them because there's one date that they all have in common. And the #1 date that everyone is focused on is your due date. Everyone's focused on it because it sounds important, but the only reason why your due date matters is if you have carried a balance from the previous month. It even says it on your statement, make a minimum payment by this due date. But if you only make the minimum payment, you're going to incur interest fees. People that pay off their credit cards in full don't care about interest fees. We don't pay interest to the bank. They don't like us. They love people that only pay the minimum payment because they're gonna hit them with interest every single month. Understand that only making the minimum payment is what turns your $20 into $25, your $100 into $130. And of course, it's all dependent on how crappy your credit card is. That will determine the higher interest you're going to pay. So always remember, your due date represents the previous month's balance. So if you're not carrying a balance from the previous month, then you actually don't have a due date to worry about. My favorite thing to look at in a credit card app is when it says no payment is due at this moment. That's exactly what you will see when you pay off your credit card in full. But also, you want to make sure that you always have your auto payment set up to an ACH draft from a checking account, not from a debit card, but from a checking account. Because if your debit card is compromised and they close it, you might have forgot about it and then you miss a payment and then you get hit with a late payment that's gonna drop your credit score all the way up to over 100 points. And we don't want that noise. And when you set that auto payment up, you wanna make sure that at least makes the minimum payment in case you forgot and you accidentally carried a balance so you don't miss that payment window. I personally have all of my credit cards set on auto payment to pay off the full amount by the due date if I do accidentally forget, because I have. And then all of a sudden, my credit score drops because I carried a balance by accident. It happens. People can forget, especially someone like myself with over 50 credit cards. Now, I'm gonna repeat this. We don't ever want to miss a payment or get a late payment because it can drop your credit score over 120 points just for one single late payment. And that late payment will hurt you the most for 4 years. That's a long time because you made an accidental mistake and didn't pay your credit card on time. Now let's put the Chase credit card statement up on the screen first so you guys can see this. Pay attention to the payment due date, how it's all the way at the very top and it says minimum payment due $40. That's how they convince you to stay in debt, because they push it all the way to the top. But let's go down to the little green bubble right there that I've got circled. Next closing date. Why would they not put that at the very top? Exactly, because they want you to pay those interest fees. Your next closing date is the date that you need to pay attention to. That is the date that once that date closes, October 24th, that's when they will calculate how much interest you owe based on the balance that is left on your credit card. Now let's put the Discover Bank statement up on the screen so everyone can see it. Now this is a statement and the Chase one was actually from the app, but pay attention to it again in big bold letters in the circle. You can see payment due date for 2024. But then if you look Over to the left in the little rectangular box, there's two dates. The first one is what we call your statement opening date, and then the second one is your statement closing date, 3/25/2024. Again, all of these statements are going to be kind of similar, but they're all going to all have the same three important dates. But the statement closing date is what we want to pay attention to and learn to remember it and save it in our brain. Now let's put the capital One statement up on the screen also so you can see the difference. Again, in big bold letters, the payment due date, but let's go over to the right in the little rectangular red box and see January 22nd is our statement closing date and December 23rd is our opening date. You see that window right there? Again, we're going to hone in on the second date, which is our closing date. Now, a lot of people get this confused and they say, well, that's when it's going to report the balance. That's not true for every single credit card. Every credit card is going to vary from bank to bank. Now, understand this. The credit card company is going to have 3 to 7 dates to report that balance once the statement closing date hits. So it could actually be on that specific date, which is on this last one where we looked at, January 22nd, or it can be 3 to 7 days after that date. Now, when you pay your credit card off, you want to make sure that you've given yourself enough of a time frame for the payment to post. So let's put it up on the screen again, the Discover statement. On 3/25, that's when the statement closes. So we want to pay off our credit card 2 to 3 days before the statement closing date hits so the payment will post. Because again, we don't know the exact report date. We're just guesstimating without having to call the credit card company. You can call the credit card company and ask them what your report date is, or you can look on your actual credit reports to see when it actually posts your payment. But if you don't want to do any of that, you could just follow this recipe that I've given to thousands of people that are in the 800 clubs, and they follow this to a T. A great example of sometimes these banks take way too long, Discover Bank, for whatever reason, takes longer than any other credit card company that I've seen to post a payment. So I make sure that I give them a full 3-day business window so they actually post the payment and then it closes properly and it doesn't report a balance for me. Because for whatever reason, they take the longest, and I think it's because they have their own payment loop system compared to other credit card companies that are using Visa, MasterCard, or American Express is another example, but they post very quickly. I don't know why Discover is like that, but it is. And listen, just between me and you, this is one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of Discover Bank, is because they take too long to post payments. And it makes no sense to me. So when someone starts to use a Discover card, the biggest question is, yo, Mike, why is it taking so long to post? I'm like, listen, man, Discover, I don't know why, but they just take forever. And pay attention to holidays, because don't let that holiday get in the way, because now it's going to take even longer for that payment to post. But this is always the golden rule. Remember, always to give yourself a 2 to 3 day window before your statement closing date hits. Now, here's a huge tip. You can, in fact, move your statement closing date. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call the credit card company and say, hey, listen, I would really like to move my statement closing date for whatever reason you got. It doesn't matter. The big banks have zero problem moving your statement closing date. Now, the crappy credit cards, for whatever reason, they want to give you a hard time. I'm just going to be honest with you. But they can move your statement closing date for you. It's super easy. People always ask me, how do you manage so many credit cards? Yeah, it's 50 credit cards. Well, it's going to be 51. I got a new one on the way that I'll talk about pretty soon. So I'm pretty excited about that one. But understand that I put half of my credit cards on the 1st of the month and the other half on the 15th of the month. So I have a 15-day window between them. So I stop using a specific amount of credit cards and then I move to the other credit cards. And the reason why you want to do this is because you want to stop using the credit card for 3 to 7 days at maximum from your statement closing date, because we want it to report as close to zero of a balance as possible. And once you get into the swing of things, and I get it, there are people out there that are trying to pay down their balances, but once you get down to zero, do it consistently. Because remember, the name of the game is consistency, your ability to repay consistently. Because one of the biggest mistakes that I see is people will pay off their credit card and then they'll say, well, hold on, why is it showing a balance? Why did my credit score drop? It's showing a balance because you used it right after the statement closing date hit. I don't know how many people do this, and this is why your credit score teeter-totters and it drives you crazy. And listen, you don't have to report a balance. You want to, in fact, report 0 zero balance as many times as you possibly can. Because remember, as I said again, I'm gonna repeat it because people just don't get this part. The name of the game is consistency. The more consistent you report zero balance, the more your credit score will continue to grow. When you carry a balance, then your credit score drops. Then it goes back up. Then it drops. People make this mistake all the time with credit cards, and it drives them crazy. They're like, the credit bureaus hate me. They keep dropping my credit score. This is not fair. No, actually, you keep dropping your credit score because people don't understand how to pay their credit cards properly. I want to give a special shout out to all my beasters out there that are working hard to fix their credit using Dispute Beast, the most advanced AI credit repair software ever created that comes with the 110% money back guarantee. But specifically to Jay, Jay's credit score went up 222 points after just one round with Dispute Beast. And Abdul's credit score went up 206 points after just one round with Dispute Beast. But let's not forget about Alexander. Alexander's credit score went up 211 points after just one round with Dispute Beast. Dispute Beast link is going to be in the video description and pinned at the top of the comments for anyone that needs to fix their credit. And I know in my heart of hearts that you do not have to carry a balance to have a high credit score. People that are in the high 800s don't carry balances. They don't pay interest fees. The banks don't like people like us because they make no money from us. So stop with that mentality that, oh, you gotta carry a balance so it reports activity, so it keeps growing your credit score every single month. No, remember, that's not how it works. And let me show you something to clear this whole mess up where people are confusing consumers every single day because everybody's out there parroting the same information. Let's put this up on the screen. This is my chart of the 5 factors of credit. Payment history makes up 35% of your credit score. Credit utilization is 30%, which is the balances that are owed. Credit age is 15%, credit mix is 10%, and inquiries or pursuit of new credit is 10%. Nowhere on this chart do you see activity because activity is not a credit score factor. Now, if we pull up a credit report, you can actually see that there's a line on your credit reports that says activity, but that plays no role in your credit score whatsoever. Now, let's put this credit report up on the screen right here. This is actually for the Credit AI credit card for that I actually made a video about previously. But pay attention to all of these little words on the left-hand side right here that tell you what each line item means. Account rating says open. And then you go down to the very bottom one where it says account status says open also. And then date of last activity. People are confused about what that means. Like, oh, does it mean I made a payment? Does it mean that my card is active? No, date of last activity means something changed on this specific item on your credit report. It has nothing to do with the activity of the credit card or the activity of when like the last date of the actual payment, if it's defaulted, means. Like, no, none of that. It just means the date of last activity on this account and something has changed on your report, whatever it may be. But pay attention, scroll down a little lower right there, date reported. You see that right there? 818181. That's when it reported the actual balance to the credit reporting agencies. But again, the statement closing date's all that matters. The date of reported is completely different than from your statement date. And this is why we just laser focus on the statement closing date so it doesn't confuse us and we're chasing down a report date. I don't want you chasing down a bunch of dates. Just focus on one date, keep calm, and stick to the plan, and your credit score will continue to rise. But be aware that you must use your credit card at least once every 3 months or sometimes once every 2 months because the credit card company will shut off your credit card if you're not using it because they want people that are going to use the money with the hopes that they're going to get in debt. Why would they keep it open for someone that's not using it when they can give it to someone like me that's actually going to use it? Exactly. So you don't have any privilege to like, they can't close my credit card down. Yeah, they can. It's their bank. They can do whatever they please. So in order to keep it active, just use it once every 3 months or once every 2 months and it will keep it active. No problem. You won't have any issues. But the moment it becomes very inactive, one, that doesn't hurt your credit score. It's just going to close the credit card. Okay. Understand that. And then the close account will hurt your credit score. So that's how it actually hurts your credit score if it's not active. Now let's move on to my favorite part of the video. Let's put up the FICO chart from FICO that directly tells us exactly how our credit score is calculated for utilization. This is the part that people freak out and everyone wants to argue in the comments about. Of course, I bring proof because I want you to see exactly how your credit score reacts. But looking at this chart in this little rectangular little box that I created, you can see it clearly states outstanding debt. It doesn't say usage, it doesn't say activity. It says overall utilization on revolving trades, outstanding debt. Now you can see right there, it's going to tell you what the utilization is going to be for every different type of balance that you report. So if you report zero balance, you're going to get a total of 55 points. If you carry 1 to 6% utilization or 1 to 6% of balances, you're going to get 65 points. If you carry 7 to 19% utilization, you're only going to get 50 points. As you can see, the higher the balances you report, the more you're going to lose in points. But pay attention to the little asterisk right next to the 65, because people are going to be like, oh no, man, you can clearly see that you get more points. No. Calm down and pay attention, because the little asterisk clearly states it represents the box number representing the maximum points possible minus the actual points received. So let's say hypothetically, I got 1 of those 10 points and she got 10 of those 10 points, or he got 3 of those 10 points, or you got none of those 10 points. Everyone is going to vary from profile to profile because there's no two credit profiles that are alike. So there's no way to say that you'll get the full 10 right out the gate, or you could have got them way before this. You could have got them way before you reported a 1 to 6% utilization. You could have got them the month after, or you're gonna get them later. Nobody can tell you 100% when you're going to get those extra 10 points. But understand, it's not always going to be 10 points. So it's not gonna make or break your credit score, as people are out there parroting all over social media saying that it will. No, right here's the proof in the pudding, coming from someone that has a high 800 credit score also. Remember, the name of the game is consistent. The more consistently you report zero balance per that chart, the more points you're going to squeeze out of your credit score. The reason why you're not consistently raising your credit score is because you reported a balance last month, then you didn't report a balance, then you went back and forth. This is why your credit score teeter-totters back and forth, and you're like, my credit score is not growing, because you're not consistent. You must be consistent. I cannot stress it enough to you. Last part's the most important. So let's put this up on the screen right here, my credit score, so you can see it: an 825 with Equifax, an 830 with TransUnion, and an 824 with Experian. I pulled them on 6/8 so you can see exactly when I pulled my credit score, so you can see there's no capping on this channel, okay? We're gonna tell you the truth. But I accidentally carried a balance on one of my credit cards for a rental car that I had. It was a really big ticket and it didn't pay off. For whatever reason, I had the credit card set to only make the minimum payment, so it didn't pay off the whole credit card. And I'm like, yo, why'd my credit score drop? That's kind of weird. But at the end of the day, it's gonna go back up. By the 15th, we've already paid the balance off, and now my credit score is gonna go up way higher, up close to an 850. And when it does post, I'll come back and I'll show you, like, look it, here's the difference in my credit score. You don't have to carry a balance. All I'm gonna do is squeeze out more points out of my credit score. So you don't have to be in debt to have a high credit score. All right, so let's recap this. You want to find your statement closing date. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, you can actually move your statement closing date by calling the credit card company and requesting it. Rule number 3, make sure to pay off your credit card 2 to 3 days before your statement closing date hits. And number 4, you want to pay down as close to zero or hit zero as many times as you can consistently to continue to raise your credit score. And number 5, you do not have to carry a balance to have a high credit score. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We covered another big one on how to pay your credit cards properly every month so your credit score continues to increase. Now, if you need to delete collections or charge-offs, make sure to watch this video right here on how to use AI to your advantage. And if you felt that I brought you some value in this video, make sure that you don't forget and subscribe to increase your credit score.